Welcome to this edition of Workplace Culture Wisdom, a series of conversations with experienced leaders. And today I am joined by Janet MacMillan. And I've known Janet now for a number of years through work that we've done together. And she has decades of experience in communications and public relations. Welcome, Janet, and thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, Kathy. Hello.
So Janet gets invited into organizations when they have particular challenges that they need support or help in working with or finding solutions. And she is going to speak with us today about some of what she's noticed as she's had the opportunity to go in and work with various organizations over the years. And Janet, I kind of wanted to start with what are the biggest organizational challenges that you've been witnessing, and also how have they changed over the years?
Hmm, that's a really good question. Certainly, earlier in my career, I would have observed quite often we're brought in to help maybe build a program, but equally, we're brought in if there's a situation or a problem or an issue that needs some support and guidance. Early on, I would say that the kinds of issues and crises that we were monitoring or involved in had more to do with operational situations. So, for example, if you're working with a manufacturing facility and there's a fire in the plant, that was the kind of, notwithstanding the work that the team did to resolve the problem, there would have also been support needed in terms of communications, managing through the issue, liaising with the media, etc. So it was an operational, it was, something happened which caused a need for action. I would say more these days, it's not those types of incidents that are causing the greatest concern. It's matters of a human nature. So it's situations where human beings have been part of the problem. So, for example, there might be a situation of workplace bullying. And so the question is, does the organization have a code of conduct? Does it have a whistleblowing policy? Are there things in place, policies and procedures in place to help and support the employees because someone has done something in contravention to that policy? Or there's an organizational leadership situation where there's been a misrepresentation or misuse of finances. And
Mm.
so, along with the lawyers and the forensic auditors, we come into the situation to make sure that we are able to manage the reputation, protect the reputation of the organization, and help with the transition um, of that leadership or that person or people away from doing any further harm. Again, that's an example of a problem that is a result of direct human um, intervention.
Actually, when we think about a healthy workplace culture, it really is all about behaviors and practices in the organization and how people are supported or aren't supported throughout the organization. And I was intrigued by your mentioning code of conduct or whistleblower policies. And how would you say they would contribute to a better workplace culture?
It really allows the organization to put on record where it stands in terms of certain behaviors. It provides clarity to all employees as to a process that can be followed if something something's it is not wrong or they perceive something not to be wrong. They have a safe way to report on it, and they know that action will be taken. Kathy, 20 and 30 years ago, the client organizations with which I worked didn't have these types of, didn't need to have these types of policies. It wasn't really on the radar. Or they were, a modified or modest version of what we see now, which is quite robust. And I've served on a board of a national sports governance body. 20, 30 years ago, you didn't have code of conduct for how coaches and athletes interact. You didn't have the need for a safe sport policy, but nowadays, all organizations are required to have that, especially those that are funded by, federal or provincial or municipal governments. So that's a change I've seen is the prevalence of these policies. They're good. As long as they're well understood and employees feel safe to be able to access them.
Mhm. And the notion of a code of conduct or these whistleblower policies does exactly what you said. It makes explicit what the organization is looking for in terms of behaviors within the organization, and they do require that they're adhered to, that there's accountability with respect to it. And you
Mhm.
just said about making people feel safe to be able to access these policies or to work with them. And what are the factors, some of the factors that help people feel safe to be able to do that?
I think that really having a clearly delineated sort of procedure as to how a situation would be reviewed or considered in the first place to be if they're exposed to a situation that they wonder about, they can look at that code of conduct and understand pretty clearly what the organization will tolerate and what the organization will take action on. Uh, and the whistleblower policy allows for the protection of individuals who do have concerns to come forward and to have the assurance that the matter will be dealt with in a confidential way. Uh, I've been in situations where, there are allegations made, and the organization leadership takes quick action. It's either the board or the CEO and senior management who take such quick action that if there is someone that may be causing harm, uh, I've seen people placed on temporary leave of absence, just sort of remove them from the workplace while the situation can be properly investigated. And the organizations that move quickly to do that, to bring in the third party expertise or some investigative or review body, those are the ones that the other employees are watching this. They're aware that something's going on, and it gives them confidence that this policy is being taken very seriously and the company is going to act on it's going to do what it says it promises to.
Definitely an example of walking the talk. And
Mhm.
through all of that, implied in what you're saying is what the role of leadership is with respect to ensuring that there are healthy practices in place in the workplace. And I wonder if there's anything more that you could add about the role of leadership.
Well, good leaders today, and I know that there's lots said and published about good leadership, but the leaders that I have had the opportunity to work with who really show great leadership are those that listen as well as communicate, and communicate clearly, communicate often, but the communication goes two ways. So it's not just about them saying what they think that people want to hear, but it's them listening and then conveying to employees or uh, audiences that matter to them um, the vision and their commitment to fulfilling that vision.
And that also hits on two other points, really, which is one is around the increasing prevalence of the term psychological safety in the workplace right now, and also about how employees feel valued and like their contribution matters in the workplace. And I wonder if you have any thoughts about that.
Well, definitely, there is a great deal more anxiety and uncertainty in the workplace, but it's probably not just the workplace. I mean, um, you could go sit with your book club and hear some of that anxiety. And I wonder the degree to which it is because there is quite a bit of change going on in the world around us. Geopolitical, there are a number of things that we're all watching, a number of world leaders we're all watching, and we're quite anxious about that. And I have client organizations that are quite anxious because their commercial success is tied to some of those world leaders. But I also wonder the degree to which the anxiety is further fueled by our, pardon me, our increasing use of social media. Um, some will say, well, there's a lot of doom scrolling going on, but people who are constantly online and looking and listening at what others are saying about certain situations, I just wonder if that is adding to the
I
anxiety.
think for sure it is. And I know in the conversations that we've had with our clients, and not just with our clients, but we've seen it, like you said, in social situations and even within our families, that there's been an uptick in conversation around the uncertainty that is facing us all in this moment. And it
Mhm.
used to be at one point, I do a fair bit of work with the change curve. And it used to be, you could say, clearly articulate your future vision so that you can move towards it. And recently, as I've been working with it, people are asking the question, well, what if you don't know? What if you don't know what that future is? And the response that I gave at that point was, if you can't know the future and you can't plan for it at the moment, then you have to set an intention about how you want to personally move through. But also, if you are leading in an organization, what is the intention that you want to set for how you're going to support the people who work with you and for you to move through this uncertainty and chaos?
That is about, setting the intention and it's modeling a behavior. I mean, when things are a little bit crazy around us, don't we want someone calm and reassuring to just say, we don't know all the answers, but together we're going to get through this? Um, and that kind of leadership tone and behavior, I think, is needed now more than ever. I'm part of an organization, I serve on a board where we actually um, we looked at our fairly new to us EDI, equity, diversity, and inclusion policies and practices. And we sort of reaffirmed our commitment to them because we were being asked about it. The organizational team members were saying, well, other people out there in the world are setting it aside, placing it lower as a priority, removing, in some cases, some organizations were removing or doing away with their EDI policies. So that intentional leadership for us was required to just sort of signal that this is important, this matters to us, steady as she goes. And while we're not sure about the world around us, these are the things that we're committed to, and we're going to stay the course. I wonder, I see that a lot. I see some great leadership from some of the client organizations with which I work. And I wonder the degree to which it's just so important, if nothing else, stay calm, listen, and keep the lines of communication open. It may be as simple as that.
I think all of those things are really important. And what, this example about the diversity, equity, and inclusion is a commitment to values in the organization. And when the organization and the leadership is really clear about that, then the people who work there, and not just the people who work there, because we've seen examples in the world, customers also can make clear choices about where they want to vest their time and their money. And for the people who work in the organization, they have an opportunity to think about how their values align with the organizational values that are clearly being upheld. And it's not just, as we say, the words on the walls.
Well said. You say that so much better than I do. I mean, I think about some of my examples, but you sum it up beautifully, Kathy.
Oh, thank you. Speaking of summing things up, is there anything else that you would like to add here in this notion of a healthy workplace culture?
Last words, I would just say, take care of one another. So, so at the very sort of top level, the board needs to make sure that the right team is in place and they have the right tools to do their job and they've got clear direction. The board may set that direction, but the team and all the employees, they enact and they need to feel that they're well supported and they need to take every opportunity to take care of one another. So to create that type of workplace culture where you're looking out for your coworkers is just so important, and ensuring that you uphold certain standards of behavior, and for the leadership team to also signal that if we fall off those standards of behavior, we have a clear path to follow to return to that safer, healthier workplace.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Janet. Thank you so much for joining me here today. And thank you for offering the wisdom from the experiences that you've had in working in a wide range of organizational settings.
You're very welcome, and I wish you good luck. This is a really exciting initiative you got underway. So thanks, Kathy, for inviting me.
You are very welcome. Go to worldviewprograms.com to learn more about our Healthy Workplace Culture Program options.